talk about the importance of coming to meetings, right? And you guys are here, so I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but I just love talking about the importance of meetings, right? And I know that there's everyone that is participating in recruiting. Not everyone's here for that. Not everyone is, wants to build a business here. I completely understand that. But for those of you guys who are recruiting, I know it can be frustrating when you invite people and they don't come. And that is a frustration that will never go away. Every business owner I know is frustrated with some aspect of their business. Sheila, are you frustrated right now? She's very frustrated, but it's a little bit better being frustrated, Adric, at 20 grand a month. Can you agree? Like, there's only so much you can complain. Like, today's the 13th. I'm at 24,000 of income on the 13th of the month, right? I'm very frustrated too, but I'm frustrated in a nice car. You know what I mean? And everything else. So, but it doesn't. But when you're motivated, that frustration, it doesn't go away. And that's the one thing that just a little bit envy I have for employees, where I kind of see that when they're completely content with their jobs, they just get to turn off. And I do see that. And some people seek that, and some people think that's healthier, and some people think that's better. I'm just not wired that way, right? I'm not interested in being in a situation where I just get to completely turn off. I've accepted this responsibility of constantly having in the back of my mind, how is my business doing? What do I need to do my business, what do I need to do to move my business forward? Where are we at for the month? Where are we at for the year? Where am I at for my goals, right? And I think that challenges me to grow versus the other situation. But what I wanted to talk about really quick, because I was thinking about this, because as you get excuses from people, I think that in their mind, they just don't have their priorities straight. And I'm not telling you that this is, I'm not your boss, right? I'm your consultant. I'm here to tell you, this is how Shaq and I got to where we are today, and that's what I would recommend you take a page out of our book in terms of meetings, right? So where do meetings rank over other things that you could potentially be doing? Let's talk about this. And this should be a standalone video on its own, right? Studying. So we recruit new people. Where does studying rank? Someone has their test on Tuesday, it's Saturday, and they say, hey, I'm not going to come to the meeting because I have to study. Now, I was a chemistry student. When I was in business school, it was a joke. You didn't have to study until the day before the final exam. Any test, you could start studying the day before. You could fly through the materials. It was just definitions. When I got into chemistry, I saw the students, they were studying weeks in advance. Because if you had to solve a problem in chemistry, sometimes it would take up this entire whiteboard. Does that make sense? It was difficult. There was no way you could learn all that material at one time, right? The life insurance exam is not like that. No one is studying for 10 hours a day. So guess what? In my opinion, you can sacrifice your little morning of 2 hours, and maybe you don't go out on Saturday night, and that's what you sacrifice. Does that make sense? Because you're trying to establish some consistency. And especially very early on, people get knocked out of the business very, very easily. I just heard a story today. This kid was super excited. He had 5 people come in today. He had showed up multiple times. He read chapter 1, looked at chapter 1, and he quit because he saw chapter 1. Right? So the studying for him actually made him quit. Right? Now, what if he came to today's meeting and he heard this? Maybe he would have been a little bit more, maybe something he heard today from Sheila, from Peter and Tia, from Bao, from myself, would have kept him in another week. That's what's happening. Does that make sense? Yes. It's not that you're going to hear something today, John, and I think that, oh my God, now you're a lifer because today's meeting. No, it just kept you until the next meeting. Does that make sense? So when people miss, then they miss that opportunity. What's the next thing? So I don't believe anyone should ever miss a meeting for studying. Back to that for a second. I've had people that they've had their security exam at 1 o'clock, they still came to the meeting. They've had their life exam, at 2 o'clock p.m., same day they come to a meeting, and they pass. This is not going to be the reason why you don't make it, right? This is the big one, because it's a little counterintuitive to somebody that's new, but we are building a business. In a business, we are trying to get clients, and that is how we make money. You are only going to make money if someone buys something. So what happens is your client somehow can only meet on a Saturday morning, and then you call and you say, I have an appointment, I'm not coming to training. Listen, I have a ton of clients. I have a lot of big clients. I have never missed a meeting because of an appointment. Meetings are more important than any one client to me. I don't care how big they are. And like I said, I have a lot of big clients. Right? As a professional, as a business owner, as a self-employed person, you got to be able to tell people what your schedule is. I'm blacked out on Saturday morning. There's nothing that's going to come into that time. So we need to figure out a different time. Does that make sense? Yes. And it's just a psychology, right? You have to building a meeting in Primerica is the most rare thing in Primerica. Making sales is not rare in Primerica. Making hundreds of thousands is not rare in Primerica. Going RVP is not rare in Primerica, right? What's rare is walking into a room and there's 50 people in a room. That is what you don't see all the time. Only the top of the top of the top. So if you want to have that type of meeting, you have to, in your mind, you got to prioritize it over money and everything else, because guess what? How much money you're going to make and how many sales you're going to make as a byproduct of having 50 people in a meeting. But what you're doing is you're stepping over $1 to pick up a nickel. Right? That's how you got to think about it. The meeting, that is the egg, man. What is it? What is it? The goose that, what is it? That's it. That's what's going to produce everything that you want. So you can't prioritize the appointment even if you're going to make money. Someone say, hey, I'm going to lose a sale. It's worth it still to come to the meeting because you establish that consistency for you and your team. Recruiting appointment, I think we can all, right? Hey, man, I got to meet with this guy. He wants me to meet him for coffee. He's super sharp. Listen, man, I recruited thousands of people, met with hundreds of thousands of people probably over time through meetings and everything else. No one recruit is that important, right? And they got to be on our time to some extent. They should be coming to the meeting. Now, that doesn't happen often where someone's missing a meeting for a recruiting appointment, but I just want to put that out there. An event. So people have events. Maybe it's a networking event. Or something's going on a Saturday morning and there's a bunch of booths there and you think, man, this can be a great marketing opportunity. Look, Primerica is a meetings business. You have to have this central location of people that are hearing the message. And when you divert away from that and you try to create your own system, right? Like, I've heard a million speeches. I've gone to every convention, every single trip. I've never heard someone say, hey, I built my business through going to these events and I had booths and now I have a 100K base shop. But I've heard many, many times people say I have a 100K base shop and tons of people, passive income because I have a huge meeting. Always remember that. We know the system. You got to follow the system. And when you divert and try to prioritize other things, that's not following the system. There's things in people's personal life that come up. So the biggest lie, bullshit excuse we get about meetings is I have a personal problem. Okay, well, you know what? You're prioritizing your personal problems over building your business, and that's why you'll have even more personal problems. Because that's where you're putting your attention, that's where you're putting your energy, that's what you're prioritizing, that's what you're going to attract. You got to drop everything and come to a meeting. I want to talk to the serious people, right? Like if you guys were, you know, the new class of draft picks for the NBA, and I'm telling, like, there's going to be certain people that are bench players, they don't care. They know they only have 1 year to play and they'll probably be playing overseas. And then there's those other ones who want to be all-stars and they want to be MVPs. The messaging is going to be very different to them. I'm talking to you guys like you want to be all-stars. There are not a lot of personal things, okay? And again, this is you decide. But nothing in my life personally that has happened prevented me from coming to a meeting, right? Religious events. People say, man, I got this, I got that, I got this, I got that. Let me tell you what happened. So you guys know I just had our holy month of Ramadan, right? And we fast the whole month. One of the other things that's huge during this month is donations, because you know, in our religion is like a point system, and everything you do during that month is you get more points for it, okay? And so everyone likes to donate during this month. And it's like, everyone I've donated to in the past, they know this is the month that he's going to be giving money. Everyone's texting me, everybody's calling me. Well, the religious organization that I plug into, they come to me and they're like, hey, we're having this festival and we're renting the rides and want to know if you could sponsor the rides. Okay, here's a few $1,000s, right? I'm doing my part and you're going to get I'm going to pay for all the rides. So this whole carnival, I sponsored that, right? Then the orphanage calls, they're like, hey, we got this, we're short this much, can you do this? Okay, money to here. And then the religious organization, they also have operations costs. Like, can you contribute to that? Okay, I'm going to do this. The same person I gave the money for the rides, now she's like, hey, there's this other thing. It's like, you just hit me up, right? When it's all said and done, in 1 month, I donated 10 grand last month. That's 1 month out of the year. The texts keep coming. The requests keep coming. But you know why they call me? Because for a period of time, call it what you want, think what you want, I was selfish, and now I can be selfless. Does that make sense? I prioritize my business over all these religious events and everything else, so now I can give back. I promise you, they're not calling the people who just show up all the time and don't have any money. You got to be a forward thinker, man. If you really want to have an impact in the short term, you got to do what's best for your business. School. You guys look at me now, right? I'm 41 years old. I came into Primerica as a college student. I just told you I was a chemistry major. I was not a history major. I changed my major to business, which again was an absolute joke compared to my first major. But, I came to every Primerica meeting. There was one meeting where I couldn't come to on time because they made the final exam on a Saturday for some reason. I couldn't miss my final exam. And I still came to the meeting halfway through. And when you take science courses, I don't know if it's like this now, but if I sign up for a chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry, there was a lab and a lecture. Is it still like that now?
Yeah.
So for those science classes, it was 2 classes that you had to go to throughout the week. Right? I still did Primerica. I didn't miss because, it's just like Sheila always says, it's not about having time, it's about making time. I knew that whatever degree I was going to get, that's not the reason I was going to have what I wanted. It was going to be this business, and that's why I prioritized this business. And the last thing I'll go over is Zoom, right? We have people, we have an awesome new recruit, her name is Pearly, she's on Zoom because she lives in Florida. And that's the best that we can do because she's at a distance. If you are local, meaning within 100 miles, you should be coming. It's very different in person than over Zoom, right? And if Pearly was local, just based on what I've noticed about her behavior, she would be here in person 100%. But even people that are watching on Zoom right now, right, you should consider having your own meeting and do like a watch party. That's what you should be doing. You should be having people that congregate on your team that are local to you in Delaware, in Florida, wherever you're plugging in from. You should have 5, 6 people, and then maybe you can have your own meeting. Does that make sense? Everything in this business happens in groups. Nothing significant happens just through an individual. And even if an individual is doing something significant, imagine if they had a team. That's the way you got to think. You got to think big. So, listen, if the attendance is down, you have to accept responsibility. I have to accept responsibility. Focus is down. Attention is down. Tracking is down. Energy is down. Expectation is down. Right? How many times do you work in? When I recruit someone, I'm telling them from the beginning how important meetings are. I promise you, it's so weird because we're a business and I make money when you sell, but I always tell people, I don't care. If you don't sell and you don't recruit, that's fine. The most important thing is that you show up. To me. You can be unproductive as long as you show up, because I know what? As long as you keep showing up, eventually you will be productive. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 10 years, I don't know. We've seen everything in this business. But I tell people showing up is the most important thing. All right, so let's get into the meeting.